Welcome. My name is Quentin Williams. I'm in the linguistics department at the University of the Western Cape, as well as the Center for Multilingualism and Diversities Research, and I'm happy to be here. We welcome you to this session of the Open Books Festival. The focus here being on Afrikaaps. But before we start, by show of hands, who saw the documentary Afrikaaps? All right, very few of you. Well done. How many of you know Afrikaans? Speak Afrikaans? The majority of you. How many of you are bilingual? Meaning you're speaking two languages. Yeah, twee talen. Ambidextrous, no. How many of you are multilingual? Speak more than three languages. Yeah, okay. All right. I just wanted to know because while I'm going to pose the questions to our panelists here in English, they are free to code switch to the variety that they want to. Because after all, this is a panel on Afrikaaps. There's new, trendy, emerging, sexy variety that we have yet to fully understand and document as linguists. Okay, so let me introduce you to our panelists. If you don't know them, to my far right is Jitsvinger. He is like, yes, give him a hand of applause. Yes. He is, as he states on his website, a Cape Flats born conceptual writer, and you can ask him what he means by what is a conceptual writer, composer, guitarist, educator, musician, poet, and performing arts. He, I think, recently debuted his album or produced a debut album or a while back. The mic. Years back. Okay, but the album is called Skelet Sleetel, and he's collaborated with a number of musicians, classical, jazz, you name it. He crosses boundaries in terms of genres, and he has performed both on the local scene as well as the international scene. And in the middle here is Blaq Pearl. Yes. Show some love. Show some love. Show some love. I must say, a fellow linguist by training from UWC, a songwriter, a playwright, an actor with a wide-ranging repertoire, who recently published this, well, not recently, but a while back, but it's coming out all the time, every year, called Karada, and you can ask her about that. And also produced musically Krataue van Vandag and Story van my Lewe, Story of My Life. But most importantly, she's the co-founder of the Black Pearl Foundation. Give up to her. So by the way, all of them are hip hop artists, and she brought her crew. So, which is a bit unfair, Janine. Yeah. Anyway, well, yeah, there we go. And next to me, on my close right, yes, my right, is the Emile YX question mark. You can ask him what what all of that means. Fun, yeah. I must say, a funny story is that every time my colleagues tries to write down Emile, they always write XYZ instead of... Yes, Anyway, winner of the Afro of the year, or the best Afro. I think Emile, everybody knows Emile. He's one of the pioneers of hip hop on the Cape Flats and beyond that. Most importantly, he is the front man or the co-manager administrator of Heal the Hood project with Shaquille, I must point out, and Tangible, don't hide, I see you, where are you? There we go. They do amazing work, and especially in organizing the African Hip Hop Indaba, which is next week. Check it out on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. You see, I'm showing my ignorance. So, but he has, like Blaq Pearl and Jitsvinger, has a wide-ranging repertoire. What brings them all together here um, on this panel is the fact that they were involved in the Afrikaaps play and also the documentary that was produced by Dylan Valley, who's currently in Johannesburg. I think he doesn't like the Cape Town weather anymore. So anyway, let's give them all a hand of applause again. And let's get into it. Who am I? That's a very good question. Wie is ek? Quentin Williams, aka Q, and not an MC. Don't battle me. But I introduced myself already. Anyway, so let's start at the beginning and try to understand where this Afrikaaps thing comes from, what it is, who created it, because I think that's one of the key things here. So, Jitsvinger, bring us to the very point of the Afrikaaps play, how it was perceived, give us an idea of why the label was created, Afrikaaps, and if you could, how you initially defined it.
Engels of Afrikaans? Okay. I made my notes in English, so let me just get past my notes quickly. No? Catherine Hennigan approached me in March 2009 with a Moorse vision, okay, to take a spoken word opera concept and splicing it with theatricals and multimedia to literally and visually rewind history to bust open the myths around the origins of Afrikaans. Okay? To also positively reflect on the contemporary version of Afrikaans as a language. She also included filmmakers whose skills interspersed with the live performance, with visual sequencing as history lessons. So as you watch the play, you start seeing people like Patrick Tariq Malay or the late Dr. Neville Alexander giving us some really juicy bits on our history that was obviously swept under the rug, you know? And breaking up and deconstructing the old histories with which we were all brainwashed with. Okay, daar is 'n Moorse tak en ek gaan nou 'n Afrikaans switch. Because I went to the Netherlands to premiere Afrikaaps before it was fully conceptualized with Kyle Shepard. So after me and Kyle broke through some creative ideas live on stage, nogals, I was freestyling and improvising a Moorse lot since. Sorry, Quentin, if I swear too much, I heard the podcast is going to be...
That's all right.
Oh.
Kapon.
But fuck yeah. Okay, so it took me from March to November to really sit down and jot down all the different names, and I had On Story, Architect Becker, Samboktong. Yeah, these were names that I jotted down because I had to come up with a name. We were a crew of Bliksemstraal, Blaq Pearl, Emile, Jethro, and two more. But they gave the task to me nogals, sinds hy. So, geskiedenisles was my first initial gedachte, like, this is a history lesson nogal, so much needed one. And, but they decided, it wasn't me. I came up with the word and said, Afrikaaps. But then the crew decided, nah, Afrikaaps would be the word. So that's how that came about.
Okay.
So I won't take the whole credit for that.
Thank you. They all should, yeah. Janine, jouw participation in die hele movement, wat het jy gebring na die play en het jy gedra aan jou eie experience van linguistics en psychology? Nou, ja, ons 'n bietjie verstaan.
Okay, ja. Eerstens wat ek gebring het was, ek was die enigste vrou op die stage in die cast van 8. So dat was al klaar massive vir my, was hy 'n groot responsibility because Hier 7 ander ouens op stage wat saam met my create die production en as 'n vrou natuurlik kan net 'n vrou se storie die beste vertel. So dat was al klaar die massive responsibility wat ek gevoel het. Ek was 'n bietjie bang, maar ek was ook brave en ek was quite honored om die opportunity te hê om die rol te speel. In die begin van die production het ons doen ons 'n ancestor scene waar ons different karakters in die geskiedenis uitbeeld en dit was nou Achimawa, Kritawa, Dauman, wie was daar nog? Ne? So daar was die 3 main karakters, die wat die witi, Achimawa, is eintlik die regte naam van die so-called Harry, die strandloper. So dit was die 3 main ancestral characters of people wat ons die show moet begin het as scene 1. En dit was vir my baie diep man, you know. So op daai punt, dat is my eerste respons en dan behalwe my talent, definitely, ek moet veel sê Quentin, ons was saam in dieselfde kos voor 2004 toe ons nou graduate van ons undergrad degree by EWK en ons het saam linguistics gedoen van day 1 tot die einde. En 4 jaar, 3 jaar, ek het 'n bietjie nog 'n jaar gehad van ek moet nog credits oor gedoen het, so ek was 4 jaar daar. En so my 2 majors in my Bachelor of Arts degree was psychology and linguistics. Psychology was easy vir my om uit te figure hoekom ek dit doen. Ek het 'n groot liefde vir people, vir mense. Ek is baie in myself, ek dink baie, ek tram om behaviors uit te figure, you know, in a society within myself and so forth. En honestly, toe ek daar klaar is met my linguistics degree, dus ek is seker, hoe gaan ek die vat in die real world, die man, going forward die. Ek was nie seker nie, paar jaar later kom Afrikaaps aan op my deur. En toe maak linguistics vir my sens. Om te quote myself, ek het gesê, nou weet ek hoekom ek linguistics gestudeer het. So ek gaan dit daar los vir nou. Definitely, it came in well. Yeah.
Emile, your participation in the Afrikaaps, but I want to phrase it as such, because I think with the transition into the new apartheid, into the new South Africa.
Oh, Freudian slip. Hey, Freudian slip.
Wait, damn. Yeah. Perhaps. I mean, the language environment was still that there were certain languages still dominant, and it still is today. It is either English, a version of English, and it's either a version of Afrikaans, pure Afrikaans. I mean, every time I teach at UWC, when I ask my students what type of Afrikaans they speak, they don't say Kaapse or Afrikaaps. They say I don't speak pure Afrikaans, which is this near standard variety. What did this? What did this participation in Afrikaaps do for you in terms of changing your or adjusting your politics towards language?
Yeah, I was one of those also before I speak in Afrikaans, I used to say ek praat 'n bietjie vertaal Afrikaans. So, you know, and most of the, because that's how you taught, man. Even though I come from a teaching background, you find that when you're in the playground with the laities, you're like, "Oh, pasie Paulie, is dit nou ja, vat die kip." En dan gaan sy klas toe, as jy haal asseblief julle boeke uit, blaai na bladsy. En you're the laities, "Oh, man, you could change man, you don't know." You know, so it's and what it made me realize is that they're like, the question that came to mind is like, always when I'm teaching, like, I was exposed to black consciousness, but it didn't really resonate with the laities because they don't see themselves as black, unfortunately, because of the history of this country. And as soon as I got the content of this information, I realized there was the missing link. And it was there was a commonality instead of the whole diversity that everybody, the kakai push in the country. We're so diverse. Kanti was somebody siala eintlik. You know, the fact that the in this cluster, the clique come from the Bushmen, the name was actually given by the first people from here, and that community itself has a huge connection historically, you know, and at the same time, in the ones wat so hulle wil nie hulle hare laat koers groei nie, hulle GHD elke dag, hulle is bang vir Boesman wies, maar hulle is al en die hele tyd, en hy is Boesman woorde. So all of this information like blew my mind that there's this commonality that we have that's hidden, you know. And so ek vergeet weer wat jou bloody vraag was, but but it was an awakening, man. I suddenly realized why there are so many dropouts on the Cape Flats, you know, because you ask our kids to code switch. We don't speak this language. We have to go to school, and then we have to study, and we have to actually in our minds convert how we think and how we speak to answer you in jouw version of die version van Afrikaans, om mooi te praat sodat hulle kan verstaan, en jy gaat stadig om die taal te praat sodat hulle kan, you know what I mean? And you're like, wie is die? Is die? Sy het sommer 'n accent ook by Sewende Landse version van onze taal.
Ja, is my mic af. Kan
Hulle
so,
kyk vir jou.
Ja, die restrictions. Nee, keep the mics on because dis so ons rol. Net om by te add, man. Die ander probleem met hy is, ne, die teacher wat moet grade die kind se struggle van code switching, you know, praat ook dieselfde Afrikaans wat die kind praat, wat ons praat almal, ons droom in die taal, ons praat in die taal, ons kel in die taal, ons vry in die taal, ons doen alles, you know. En but nou die juffrou word ook gesit onder pressure om nou te grade die kind in Bishop Lywes se Afrikaans subject of whatever, of wiskunde in Afrikaans. So die vir my is problematic, man. Het limit op die einde van die dag moet daar 'n grade gegee word vir die. So nou suddenly word ons gejudge, ons intelligence word gejudge by op die taal wat ons praat, en die is heavy, you know.
But die history ook sien, because it's an outside force that made you feel like you don't speak well enough. They call it kombuistaal. So it's constantly insulting you, when in actual fact your ancestors created this language. And so there's a huge potential to get the kids away. All the things that the government has been spending billions of rand on is actually could be solved if they taught people a sense of self-worth, and the language is the key, right? So the kids who drop out get attracted to the gang situation because it's the lack of self-worth. They sell drugs. Again, you're selling drugs to a whole community that don't feel that they're worthwhile. And so all of these things are connected. And so, wat sy gevra het, hoe is die connected en wat, en hoe ons change kan bring, is om mense aanhoudend te vertel. Like these conversations, that we try to have these conversations as often as possible, and get people to speak. Praat soos jy praat, moenie skaam wees nie. Verstaan, moenie excuses maak, ek praat nie duidelik genoeg nie. I praat, because it's also shutting you up. The silence that it creates is also criminal. You know, like we go to a gathering, we bring kids from the Cape Flats, hulle is van Afrikaanse gemeenskap, hulle kom na 'n talk toe or iets, and I say the analytes English. Immediately that entire group of lights don't want to speak. You know? And then they never come again. Like whenever there's a gathering here in the city, I find that we are the Cape Flats or so-called colored community is not even at District 6 Museum, ironically.
Yeah, Emile just answered the rest of my questions.
Sorry, man.
Emile, Nyman. Okay, so I mean the panel is connected, or part of the theme of this panel is connecting to self-worth and building commonality or common ground. I blame you for that word. And all three of them are involved in what one could typically consider hip-hop activism. You use the tools of knowledge of self, the fifth element of hip-hop, to advance a community building and activism, and then strengthening of new types of selves within this very turbulent South Africa of ours. So Janine, your foundation, Blaq Pearl Foundation, vertel 'n bietjie oor die, hoe jy hoe julle selfwoord instil van Bontas tot Mitchell's Plain or wherever, and hoe julle common ground of commonality build.
Okay. So ons is
Briefly.
Also, ik ga proberen briefly. Ons is based in Mitchell's Plain, right? By the Alliance Française building, which is a French founded establishment. So, so what Blaq Pearl Foundation doen is, in a nutshell, is doing life skills with arts and sports, right? Co-founders, my man Shane Overmeyer, 9-time table tennis champion, and yeah. And hij is obviously op the sports department and ik is focused op the arts department. So we've had over 400 youth, of which 80 to 90% is women who completed and graduated from our life skills and arts program in the past year, between 2018 to 2019. That's massive, no? And some of them are sitting here. Hulle sit hier in the audience, some of my staff's here. So hulle kan eintlik, ek gaan afeindig die response met hulle om die pledge te doen. Om vir jou die antwoord te gee. So ons die core van ons program is about knowledge of self. Who am I? You know? Wie is ek? En basically, as jy jouself ken nie, in and out, jou strengths, jou weaknesses, jou dreams, jou goals, jou hoe om te communicate met iemand, whatever jy wil communicate van yourself, hoe om conflict te manage, en so aan en so aan. As jy nie die kan doen nie, dan is het moeilijk vir jou om uit te gaan in die wereld en jezelf te represent. Yeah. Soos Emile sê, baie van onze mense, van onze community kom hier en hy sit hier toe. So now, they change their language because hulle is nie comfortable met hulle selfie. You know, and then, but why do we have to do that? Ons is hier, ons travel the world en ek gaan perform in Afrikaaps, overseas, in Europe, because ek is confident en ek is proud van wie ek is. And that's basically what we do. We transfer ons teaching, ons die teachers in ons organization programs, but we transfer valuable skills that they can apply in their daily lives. And like I said, the core is, who are you? Wie is ek? So, ons praat in baie keer, even die my motivational sessions, dan sal ek baie van my performance doen vir hulle, including Afrikaaps, you know, and sometimes hulle in awe because hulle nog nooit ge-experience die. Ek meen, dis nog 400 youths, you know, wat hier ons organization kom, so ver. Hulle nog nooit experience iemand doen die nie. You see, so that's one of the ways I use what I do, which I know works, to transfer and to motivate and inspire others in our communities to rise above their challenges and whatever banner is in terms of identity, but to be yourself. So op 'n closure, ek hoop hy antwoord jou question, maar Sisters with Attitude, kan julle gou opstaan en net die pledge doen vir die gemeenskap asseblief? Moet nou nie nou vir my disappoint nie.
Kom.
Julle daar agterhoek, Aisha hulle.
Kom, jy wil die pledge sien, man.
Hulle staan rond. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. One more time.
I am beautiful. I am important. I am the change I want to see.
Away. Salute, sisters. Thank you.
Boy, Quentin, Jitsvinger. Jy cross ook baie boundaries in terms of genres. En ek dink die bou in jou activism as jy saam met kinders praat. Reflect 'n bietjie oor hy.
Okay, ek was baie involved op skole, maar die life orientation subject. And I used creative writing to as a methodology to teach life orientation. Mostly to lighties from, I think, what's the high school age? Grade 10 and up? Standard 6 is 13.
16.
14, 15.
Ja, die moeilike age man, julle almal was you know,
12.
yeah, you were all the sinds die hormones is die mekaar en God weet wat nog. So, yeah, so conflict resolution. But here's one thing I just want to reflect on, which is happening at schools today still. So schools are supposed to be inclusive, no? But they're not properly integrated on a social level. There's ladies that can't even speak Afrikaans. Why is that? Some of them do speak their mother tongue, but they're forced to speak English in schools. This is primary schools, right? But then I asked one of the teachers who I know, and she says, yeah, it's because they don't have friends. They don't make friends with kids who speak a different language. So simple sentences like, ek is bly, hoe gaan dit met jou, is something that's foreign to them, although it's common to us, all of us, on a street level. So my thing was to encourage them to socialize more, to play games more. If you sing something, you remember it. If you use poetry, you remember it. It could be a math problem or just formulas. Algebra could be hard on the tongue, Sinzai. But if it's built into a song, it can be remembered, and that goes back home, and the laity can show the parent or demonstrate to the parent what he or she has learned. Sinzai. And then that's where I find myself as an artist, where I want to be. I want to be household. Whatever I do, whether it be on a corporate platform, whether it's on a festival, try to get yourself to be spoken about, your work to be spoken about around the dinner table, something like that. Yeah, so I just want to say that.
Yeah, good.
Go on.
So I'm what I call a social linguist. We study the relationship between language and society using the tools of linguistics. But I mean, if I'm a laity from Bishop Lavis, 13 years old, working class, my mother is a single parent, there's no food in the house, and you come to me with your Afrikaaps language politics, where the gangster in the street across the road can provide me with all the material needs I need. Why should I, after all, listen to you with your politics? That's not going to feed me. It's not going to clothe me. I'm not going to get Jordans or, what's it called? Alanga and Zona. That's excessive. I mean, what? Yeah. How would you then persuade me that I should invest energy into advancing this politics of Afrikaaps?
Yeah. Look, I mean, I think the means yes there. And I think the example that I can give you is that I go to a school. There's 1,000 kids at the school, and I ask the kids, all those who are not involved in like the gangsterism happening in the community, all these kids who are positively want to see positive change, all the good people I'll try it here. All the good people put both your hands up in the air quickly, as high as you can. Everyone, the people that want to see good things happen. Now I want you to look around and see how many we are. Yeah? As ander mense wat gat hangers is, maar hy's alright. And when I do that at a school where there's 1,000 kids, for the first time, we see that we are the majority. Because the capitalist media makes us think that only the negative people exist on the Cape Flats. So when you change that around, you now realize that what he's asking is about that handjievol mense that are causing kak everywhere. And it's not a majority of us. And once people are given that sense of self-worth, then you change the way they think of themselves, right? The that didn't put his hand up now be feeling like, yeah, bro. Ek nog gedink is kwaai, maar ek verdala is a sinse. So it's about, you need to, and also you need to be honest with yourself that the truth about this is that the system we are fighting actually is implementing what you're speaking about. Its intention is to do what he's saying. As long as he keeps us involved in that activity, or the perception that most of us are involved, it is beneficial, because then he can dismiss the Cape Flats. Then a kid that is raped and murdered on the Cape Flats almost on a regular basis is overlooked, and once in a while someone gets upset, and they get upset for a week, and then the next thing happens. You understand? So you have to deal at the foundational, what is the problem at the core? You don't just put a band-aid over a cancerous wound. You have to look at, where does this come from? What is causing this? Is the meat you're eating like infected or something? Yeah? What is causing the problem? And I think that is really how you solve. And Afrikaaps is one of those things that sets the ball in motion. It gets people thinking about, ek sê heeltyd en but daai's woorde, daai's eintlike woorde. Almal sê hier in Suid-Afrika, daai mean ja, en nie in koi go up. How deep is that? You never ever thought that this is a language. You just thought I'm making the sound uh. You know what I'm saying? And without knowing, you are actually, your DNA told you that this is a language without you knowing it. It is who you automatically are, you know? And so for me, those things, even like words like goga and kriki and kwagga and dagga and uitsa and all of this stuff that's part of Afrikaans is how the Bushman remains. So jy kan maar GHD maar krusko altyd terug. Verstaan? You can't escape the reality of who you are. And only when you take the step towards your ancestry will it take two towards you. And this is not about the Western world idea of value. It's about a value that is much deeper, that is inherent in who we are. We know good from bad. We don't have to learn this. You understand what I'm saying? So it's these things that we are speaking about, things that they say, ooh, the boogeyman. Ek het die example gegee. Sy bring 'n laaitie huis toe, na jou huis toe. Jou ma sê vir jou, sy bring nie weer die laaitie in toe nie. Jy kan as 'n snaakse gevoel wat ek kry. Why? What is she talking about? And you know exactly what she's speaking about. You're like, okay, mom, ek gaan nie weer die laaitie bring nie. This is not about their world's reality. This is about our ancestral reality. Ek gaan daar stop en ek raak baie passionate with it.
Oeh, en ek gaan net die bol aanvat by jou. So, ja man, Abba is nog 'n woord net om by te voeg. Abba, né? Wie ken hy woord Abba? Kom Abba vir my, né? As 'n koi woord, né? Dit kom so lank en jy weet nie daai nie. So nou daai, be proud. Ek wil net add man om te sê, kyk jou nou, ons het klompie jare van pyn, enslavement, oppression, wat sê ander een, indoctrination, you know, wat voor ons kom soos ons nou hier sit, klompie jare van hy voor ons. So imagine hoeveel jare het gaan vat vir ons hy healing, om die goed te week en om te heal. Het gaan nie overnight happen, it might not happen in my generation or the next. But, eerens moet ons begin man. En as baie anders soos ons nou hier sit, wat die movement begin van healing en van alternative education en van activism, you know. Ons gebruik arts, music, dance, theater, hip-hop, creative writing, fashion as alternative education methodologies. So, ons praat van 'n education system, right? Wat in ons land exist. Wat die eers cater vir ons, you know? My ouma groot sy almal voor hulle, baie voor hulle het gepraat die way ek nou Afrikaans praat. Maar dat niks gechange in ons education system van die tyd tot nou nie. So, ek sê altyd, niemand gaan kom om vir ons te save. Ons moet ons self save. En dat is hoekom ons het vat upon ourselves to implement alternative education towards healing, towards conversation, dialogues, in onze communities, van niemand gaan kom en hy bring hier vir ons. Even the education system in onze communities doen dit nie vir ons. So, dat is wat ons doen. Daar was nog iets in jou vragen, maar wat ik specifically wil op respond. Oor die gangsterisme Afrikaaps. Ik heb die philosophy man, in a way. Ik sê, wat voor jaren kyk jy man, die gangsters het 'n strategy wat werk. Nou? Hulle strategie wat werk, hulle groei, hulle recruit very well our young men and women. So hulle het iets wat werk. Ek sê kyk man, ons goeie mense ons gebruik 'n gangster strategy. En maar in a positive way. You know, through die werk wat ons doen. So ons moet ophou heeltyd humble. Nee, ek is maar Blaq Pearl. Ja, joh, nou, thanks man. Nee man. Nee man, ag wat daar loop by sy nomme. You know? So, yeah, nog a way of changing that through us being artists and using art as methodologies of healing and conversation is vir ons om te begin proud te wees, man. Om op te staan te sê, kyk man, ek is Blaq Pearl en dis wat ek al alles accomplished. Ek het 'n degree in psychology and linguistics. Ek het gaan study journalism. Het was nie maklik vir my familie nie. You know, ons het peanut butter en brood geëet soms, maar ek het daai man, so jy wat daar by UCT of wat in Stellenbosch, wherever ook hy gestudeer het, raak wys man. You know, acknowledge. Het gaan nie omdat ek van die Cape Flats is, omdat ek die way ek Afrikaans praat, as ek hoe kon sy? Intellectually, wat sy woord? Inferior nie, you know? Because ons kan lekker praat, maar die goed wat ze gaan hoor uitkom haar, ze gaan vir jou in 'n hoekie indruk, because het gaan nie oor hoe ek praat, het gaan oor wat ek weet, man. You know, ek gaan het gewoon niet daar los van nou. So, ons moet begin opstaan en proud wees vir wat ons alles accomplished. Even the struggles, because we rise above it all the time. En die is om proud oor te wees. Dank je.
All right. Tell her what you must.
En nog so, ek wil net so 'n kleine ietsie add by en wat sê Annie nou wat sy genoem het? En Abba. Nou, dis nou op die raak-wys mentality wat ek nou van paat is because of die pop sien sy. Nee, hy proe so man jy het sê, you know? Yeah. Well, ek het lately uitgevind dat is actually ouer as Christianity, bro. It's like, nee, maar hoe meen ze nou? Oh, is redig so oud. So ons weet hoe oud is die slang wat ons gebruik hier. En as 'n MC met Afrikaans het ek uitgevind, joh, jy kan so baie doen met die ways jy praat in jou mother tongue, sien jy. Met ander woorde, goeie soos, is julle wakker, sit stil en ontvang blitsvindige pantsers tussen jou verstand se verskillende vlakke. Sulke goeie is maklik, you know. Goeie soos, so wat is dit nou, sound ek weird vir die amateur wat staan en lê om baas te kloute soos mountaineers? Ek maak het aan met vele van my taaljuwele, Afrikaaps vir julle wat hiphop besteel op kapitaal gefokus. So I've been using Afrikaaps in my rhymes before Afrikaaps was conceptualized, sien jy? So, maar met die aside, kom ek wys gou Afrikaaps het sappies, sien julle die documentary hier, no? It's available, it's on sale en wat, ek gaan dit nie verkoop iets, ek gaan dit maar verkoop. Maar Afrikaaps is nominated vir 2 Kana Awards, julle kan maar 'n klap. 4 kyk net Fiesta Awards. En 2 Florida Cup Awards. Ek gaan nie sê hoeveel het ons gewen nie, sien sy. But populated or dominated by a white majority or white rule, verstaan sy, maar Afrikaaps is daarin. Sodat ons die deure 'n bietjie kan afbreek. En nou vir hy gangsters of hy laities wat woon as gangsterism away, kyk eens die Afrikaaps het ek Taiwan toe gegaan en ek het die Taiwanese mense laat sê as ek sê Daisy move, dan sê julle maak het aan. Daisy move! Hulle het gesê maak het aan. Ek het gaan Switzerland toe. I performed as part of the Baskers Festival back in 2008, since I'm in a live band, die mense lyk gevaarlik, and they all wear the latest trends in Switzerland, because it's between Austria, Italy, France en alles daar, sinds hier kom 'n Kaapse laitie, en hy is vir die drama, my broers laat gewoon net 'n lekker gumabita, en die crowd step nader, en ek sê, hy is die move, en hulle sê, moenie slaap, and all the way to Chile, they did the same. En ek het getoer in Frans. En hy nogals, hoe sê jy, ek het foreign currency in my sak gebring huis toe. Ja, men ek kwai watch en 'n paar perfumes vir my ma, my pa, sins, you know. But die wêreld is my oyster. But just rapping in my mother tongue. And I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Dope. Okay, Emile, short one.
I just want to, you know, there's a book I read recently called, I think it's called Affluence with Abundance or something. And in this book, they speak about how the Bushmen look at the desert, you know. And why I'm saying this is because when someone, like when Europeans look at the desert, they say there's nothing. But when the Bushman looks at it, he sees abundance, you know. I grew up here in Cape Town. I was telling my brother this, that we all share the same bath water as when I was growing up, right? Because you had to, en die auntie lag van sy ken die storie, né? Sy moet maar die skuim na die kante toe move, verstaan sy, maar sy pad in hy water, verstaan sy? So when they, and I find it ironic that capitalism sells scarcity. And this, we are living in a scare city. You get what I'm saying? So it's a very important mentality to shift from where you place your importance. Like whenever someone says they're chappies, it's always in relation to them sanctioning you. Like thrice they asked me if I want to go and study and go do, like they'd pay for me in the US. And I refused it because, and a lot of people are like, who could me bruise for free? But it's not for free. because you have to speak their language to get this degree. You have to buy into a system so that when you come out of it, only when you speak and you only get your tenure, whatever I is, jou chappies van hulle, when you agree with them and you fit in and you speak their story, then you accept it. So it doesn't matter, and it's very careful how you say what it is that your chappies are. Because we need to create our own chappies. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. So for me, it's baie belangrik. And I want to just end up with saying this, that I didn't realize the first person I actually shared, first I needed to liberate me. I can't do anything for you until I liberate my own mind. You understand? So even this battle that we're speaking about, where the chauvinism that's happening on the planet, the country with so-called the best democracy in the world, which is a lie, has the biggest rapist as their president. And they never ever bother to speak about that because he happens to be white. Bill Cosby, on the other hand, is in jail right now. You understand? And people are okay with that. So the power that is being wielded as white supremacy by the oligarchy is definitely based on this idea of you must buy in to get anywhere. So yeah, versigtig wees. First liberate die en dan kan ons verder praat.
Thank you. Give him a hand of applause. I mean, that's amazing. Okay. I think we'll take some. I have one question, but I'll ask it at the end, and that's about the future of Afrikaaps and Afrikaans, and what we need to do still. But let's open it up to questions and comments. And if you do have a question or comment, please keep it brief so that other people can also ask. Don't pontificate or give an essay. I mean, yeah, some people do. Do we have a mic for whoever? Oh, all right, one of these. Okay. Yes.
Hello. I wanted to ask each one of you, what is your favorite Afrikaaps word? And then also, how did you come about all of your individual stage names? And how important was it for you to have that stage name once you come out onto stage and perform?
That's a three-part question. Let's take two more. Two more? There's a hand. Can you come to the front if you don't mind? It's a bit confronting, but
I wanted to ask why Afrikaaps wasn't made an official language. Like when they chose the 11 languages, why was Afrikaaps not a language?
That's an interesting question. And then another one. Oh, you have to come. And accidental.
It's a two-part question. So, just from experience, how do we liberate people in the workspace, like people of color? And how do we address mental health and like the traumas of capitalism in the workspace? Yeah.
Okay, I think you can proceed to answer those.
My favorite Afrikaapse woord is awareness. Because it speel me word awareness. So now I can speak my mother tongue with a little bit of more awareness. Yeah? And it's about being aware. Every movement, socially, musically, is about spreading awareness. Even protests. Right now, the biggest, it's about spreading the awareness that, kyk eens, this is what's clapping right now. Whatever the cause may be or whatever the case may be. My stage name is Jitsvinger. I landed that when I was in matric, and I finally decided, kyk, I'm going to rap intentionally in my mother tongue from here onwards. There was no plan. I just love the word Jits. I like seeing it. I like hearing it. The way I feel when I hear it. Say it. Oh, way. And there's a history with that word, right? You know how harsh it used to sound like? And then that's why Jits was developed or created. And I made it part of my rap concept because what I did, I felt was Jits with the language. So ek is Jitsvinger sommer van nou af. Why finger? Because a finger points at something. A finger is yeah, it's a druk op die knoppie, man. You know what I mean? So that's why I was vinger, because I was always part of a crew. En ek was altyd die langste. Since I was always the tallest. So ja, Jitsvinger, die ou wat uitstaan soos 'n vinger. Hey, vinger. Nee man, Jitsvinger. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Janine?
Okay, een van my favorite woorde is raakwys. Langs aan away. My ander favorite woord is befok. So when I lack for lack of another word of really expressing my excitement of, yo, that is amazing. You know, people in English would say amazing or great. I'm like, yo, that is befok. You know? And so I think that's my number one favorite. Stage name Blaq Pearl. It's BLAQ PEARL. And it used to be, when I started out in late 90s, early 2000s, it used to be BLACK, like the color. But the reason for my name essentially is Blaq Pearl. Social politically, I'm not black enough, I'm not white enough. And the name itself states the two colors. And then a black pearl by nature is beautiful. It's very rare to find. And when you do find it, you're very wealthy. So with all of that said, I always valued myself highly. I'm proud of myself. I am beautiful. And then later, as I grew within myself, finding myself more, growing within my craft, growing within my life, within my identity, I changed the CK to a Q, like Blaq Pearl. So the Q represents or symbolizes the Q as I now identify as a koi. And I also just want to add that I've never identified as being colored. I never felt comfortable, not even as a child. So I refrain from using the word colored to describe myself or classify myself. But as I grew, I grew more confident in embracing my koi heritage and identity. And I still have a lot to learn. I don't know it all. I'm still on that journey, but I've started with a change. Yeah, thank you very much.
Are we only answering the first question? All right, okay, so wat was die ou die woorde? Ja, so klomp woorde, man, seker lekkertjies. You know, or kwai lappies. Yeah, I'm from a different generation now, and I'm 51 already, so like my slang is like another generation slang compared to what's now, you know. As far as my name, my mom named me Emile, so I kept that for performance. Emile also means industrious, so the idea of like working and as hard as you possibly can, and playing as hard as you possibly can, like and being a jack of all trades and master of my own fun. And then like I added my family's surname was Jansen, Jansen, and I found out that it's actually you're named after the slave master, and Jansen is actually Jan Sinner, slave of Jan. And so during the time of like the uprising of like black consciousness in hip hop, I changed it to X, and then I was like, but most people don't even know what the X is, so I added a Y. Always ask why X, because X is the unknown. And then I added a question mark to the back of that, because jy moet altyd vra vir die res van jou lewe. Jy's nooit slim genoeg nie. And so that's why Emile YX. And while I was studying teaching, I found out that this guy, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, I think his name was, he had this book, this teaching method called the Emile, which was essentially about like teaching in a practical manner. And Hilda Wood used a very practical way of teaching, you know, using experience more than experiential teaching, more than deep dunk and what. Like the body, you embody the thought, so that's where that comes from. And can I somehow jump to the other question of like why it's not official language? Ek wil klaar maak, man. And so the thing about you're talking about power, and power is never going to implement something that exposes it. And the dominant movement in this country is hidden behind this Afrikaner concept, which in actual fact, in all truth, Afrikaner actually means from Africa. So the first Afrikaners were people who were mixed, who were born here. You know, so it's again a stolen, not only Afrikaans are stolen, but also this idea of the Afrikaner. And so it exposes ownership of land, because when you speak and kids realize, but ek praat dan nou Boesman taal, ek moet seker Boesman wees, dis aan ons land, nou okay, hallo, gee die land terug. So it's a very clever way of, and you find that most of the Afrikaans schools on the Cape Flats are being closed. So it's how do you hide all of this information, you know? And so you must think about like who's running politics at the moment, and the intention of like land, hiding land, and who gets the land. You understand? So it's about that power structure, why the language is not shown as to be one of the official languages. I mean, at the same time, none of the Bushman languages are either. You know, so those are like things maybe to wrap your head around. And then with the illusion of purity, it exposes that there is no such thing as a pure people. You know, F.W. de Klerk found out that Kratoa was actually in his lineage. You know, a Bushman woman. So, and Marika, jy kan sommer sien Marika se blonde haar is eintlik kroes. So jy weet, so it exposes a lot of the lies of the system that the system tries to keep in place. And that's really why the language is not really official. The question about how do you address
Liberating colored people in the workplace.
yeah, liberate colored people, myself liberate in a workplace. Now I mean like you're living in a system that is set up around capitalism. You know, and as a teacher, when I come from a teaching background, they think that you can really, the child has to be open to be the unlocking to take place. If you're closed, nothing can happen. If you're not willing to learn, you're not going to learn. You know, so that's why I'm saying the people in the workplace, it's also about once you're enlightened, and Hildewood uses the change of mind changes action. It's only when you change your mind that there can be a different outcome. You know, so that is necessary. And dealing with issues of mental health is obviously related to you realizing your power and who you are, and giving yourself a sense of self-worth by learning your ancestry, knowing who you are and your value, which is beyond the economics that they pay you. And then being a creative person, like I've created like these books in the last while. These are books that I set up for my stories I told my lady that I found, yeah? And we've finished 10 thus far, you know? So it's not just about talking about what you're gonna do. It's op 'n bypraat, man. Aksies in sy, wie sê Emile, wie sê industrious, verstaan julle? You know, be the change you're speaking about.
Thank you. Ek gaan niks add by wat Emile nou gesê het nie, maar ek wil gou net vir die late Dr. Neville Alexander quote op die vraag van language. Ja? Hy sê, I believe that if we can acknowledge the Creole histories and the black and colored contribution to the language, it would be a great step forward for equality in our country. We need to recognize Afrikaans as part of the heritage of all South Africans. Together we can make, en ek sal like om te sê, Afrikaaps, a language of liberation. Hy is van Neville Alexander. Oh yeah, in Afrikaaps, it's a word in the woordeboek van Afrikaanse taal. I was invited to Stellenbosch where they gave me the certificate to say that you created the word. It's now in the woordeboek. So yeah.
Can I add the linguist in me is can I add one thing? Just I think if you're asking, and I get the question all the time, what is the difference between Afrikaaps, Kaapse, and standard Afrikaans? And I always use this example. If you say something is better here in English, if you focus on better here, in our standard Afrikaans you say beter hier. And Kaapse you will say bitter hier. And Afrikaaps you will be better here. It's the difference between give me a bottle of water to a bottle of water. Right? Wow. Bitter here, yeah. So what I want to say is that Afrikaaps best represent the generation born after or in the new South Africa. There's been a shift in the variety, but we need more linguists to document the grammar and the phonology and the morphology to better describe what's going on. And for that, you just give me money. I will do it. I'm already doing it. 5 million will do it. Anyway, let's have another. Oh, you want that? Want to say
You
something?
better let me reply. Being the only woman on this panel, ik ga
Go
een
ahead.
maat
Yeah,
starten. Yo, I don't even want to add to that response about why is Afrikaans not an official language. I think Jitsvinger said it so well. The only little thing I want to just put back to you is Afrikaans is the official language. And this is just adding to, well, not adding, but saying it in a different way, I think. En die way ons Afrikaans praat, 'n change soos jy deur die Kaap gaan, soos jy deur die land gaan, change ons accent, ons dialect, al die goed wat hy nou van gepraat het, kom in plek in daar soos jy deur ons land gaan waar mense Afrikaans praat. Dan is dat die brei, die r, die, you know, en Saldanha, you know, so is almal Afrikaans, but is hoe ons het sien en hoe ons het embrace en proud is van hoe ons praat. So, dat is hoekom ons Afrikaaps eindelijk gedoen het, because ons was dik van mense wat vir ons sê hoe ons moet voel en hoe ons moet praat. Wanneer ek in Beacon Valley ga, na die Promenade Mall, by Pick n Pay daar, die is eindelijk die experience wat ek gehad het, so, die auntie wat werk by die til, bly miskien in my pad, en weet het, by die bank is of whatever, maar wanneer ek nou een transaction maak of gaan betaal, wil ek nou so maar Engels praat, of as ek by die counter kom, om polony te order, I want to know, say, can I have 20 rand polony, please? Maar ons al twee weet dan, eindelijk praat ons, yo, auntie Elsie, gee me 20 rand polony. So I basically tested that, you know? And it challenged me, and that's where I changed that whole gedachte of doing, accommodating that. So that's small ways of starting to change that, man. Capitalism, liberate in the workplace. Kijk, ik heb nog nooit voor baas gewerkt. No? En ik weet mensen, ik zeg niet, moet je voor baas werken, werk voor jezelf. No? Want ik weet het hard. Maar ik ga voor jou een voorbeeld geven. Zo hard zoals jij werkt voor jouw baas en hij company in. Zo hard werk ik. Even harder. Slaaploze nachten. Ook om te earn geld. You know? En om free te wees, om te zeggen wat ik wil zeggen. En om geliberated te wees. So that for me is liberation. En nog een way om dat te spread is, begin support julle mense, onze mense, se products, se productions. Begin mekaar support. Hou op hy, ou haar in die corporate, die ou hoe het se baas of wie ever se baase, you know, gaan ryk maak hem hulle en allemaal die mense, voorsien hulle. Hulle gee nie terug vir ons, he. Maar ons wil gaan lekker name brands dra daar, maar hier, meanwhile, vertel ons mekaar se stories hier, maar ek sukkel, ek verkoop net 2 boeke by 'n festival. No? Maar dinges wat klaar klomp geld het, verkoop 20 boeke. For example, so, raak wys, you know, dink aan die klein dinge, start liberating ourselves, you know, and our communities by supporting each other. Dankie.
Okay, thank you. I think we're supposed to end at 3, right? So we won't take any more questions, but you can talk.
Boesman tyd my bro, vra nog 'n vraag.
Okay, one more, one last. Come on, be brave. Yes. Can you come to the mic?
Yeah, baie dankie. You know, I'm sitting here and I'm listening, and whenever I listen to you guys, I'm so inspired. But how do we build a movement? I mean, I know that you guys are working, but the scale of the problem is so big. So the interventions also has to be big. So how do you make what you guys are doing even bigger to influence more people? Yeah.
Ik ga baie kort wees. Die eerste stap is om realistiek te wees. Ik heb het earlier gezegd, het gaat niet overnight happen nie. So eerste stap is om realistiek te wees. And part of that is what is real in our now and here. En ik wil niet wat Emile, behalve wat ons ook doen in Jitsvinger, wil ik niet uitbeeld wat Emile hulle doen. And this is now future current of Afrikaaps. Is where the facilitators have, we've all okayed it, and currently there's 11 schools that's got our Afrikaaps script and they've been workshopping that script, and they are now going to showcase the Afrikaaps production, but in their own who they are, you know. And daar is groot, hoeveel skole? 11 skole all around the Cape Flats. So ek dink hy is 'n groot step. You know, daar gaan nog van ons mense vra nou wanneer kom julle weer op? Ons gaan weer opkom. Gee ons 'n bietjie tyd. En ons almal evolve en groei net soos die taal heeltyd groei. So that's baie goed wat gebeur, you know. Emile, wat jy add to the details?
And I just think all of the small steps add up to a bigger one. Like sometimes people get excited and then things fade away. I feel like this takes time because we're dealing with something that has been around for 500 years and that has been oppressing our society for that amount of time. So it's necessary that we allow ourselves time to grow and to learn and to make the mistakes that are necessary. Nothing happens overnight, you know. And I feel like if it starts with me, my brother now runs Heal the Wood because I'm heading to the US a lot, and like I'm starting Heal the Wood in the US. We're flying to Sweden to start Heal the Wood in Sweden. So you magnify what you do once you have something solid, you know. And when are they doing this thing at Park what's the school again? Pelican Park Primary on the 9th and the 10th. Yeah. So the kids are taking some of the songs and are going to redo the songs and then add their own little creations at the beginning and the end of the song. So it takes time, but we're getting there, you know.
Jits, one last thought or reaction to it?
Die future van baie movements soos ek sê, labor youth, ek kan maar lag, maar waar gou is so. Of het jy gegaan nou, dus stiek dit weg. Ek sê vir jou baie dankie. Hoekom is die future by die youth? En julle wat die youth is, jy sal luister mooi. You've got more energy than the older generation. You've got more bandwidth. You've got more hashtags than I can think of. You've got a larger, bigger social media network. Julle het die krag, julle het die energy, and julle today's technology to take anything forward and make it serious. So I think it's in good hands. The future of Afrikaaps and any movement you want to promote, involve the youth at all times. Thank you.
I give the last word to Janine.
Iets baie klein. Klap maar vir Jitsvinger asseblief. Moet julle self terughou nie. Laastens man, ek encourage altyd. Jits praat nou van die technology, bandwidth, hashtags en al die. Ek lyk om vir ons terug te vat man met die connection van die seniors en die youths, you know, en die kleintjies en die ancestors, you know. Ek gaan visit my ouma, né, en ek is die oudste kleindogter en ek lyk by haar voete sit en luister. You know, no matter wat sy van praat en ek luister. Ek en my ma is 'n bietjie nader aan mekaar, so ons battle nog hier en daar oor, ons byt nog 'n bietjie oor, "Yo, mami, maar dis hoe ek dit sien en you know, mami like, ja, maar jy moet dit so doen." Ek humble, ek luister, maar dis mos hoe ons generation vandag ons wil 'n bietjie challenge van die differences is te naby aan mekaar. Maar ek wil net encourage man, ons almal het oumas, aunties, even in die neighborhood, even in die community, as altyd 'n auntie in die straat wat soveel wysheid het en stories het. Dit vat net vir jou om te gaan na haar toe. You know? Go to her as a young person, go to that elder and connect and just listen. You'll get so much wealth from those stories because the story itself is wealthy, is worth, you know?
No.
Pass the mic, pass the mic, pass the mic.
Emile.
Pass
One sentence.
the mic.
Okay, I'll try a long sentence.
No.
Okay,
One sentence.
Oh, it's break
I
heeltyd die rules,
want to
man.
give your example, right? I was holding my son in my hand, in my arms, and putting him to sleep. And your default is to sing what you know. So you're about to sing Ashabai. I was like, my bro, this must kak verkeerd, my bro. Daai prikkie branch, af al die lightie van die boom uit sien sy. So I'm like, yeah, we have the power to change. All of us have the power to change it. And it begins with us, right? So now my kids, they sing songs that I created myself. Right? So it's en een van die hulle is nie eintlik hier nou nie, maar hulle sing swaar raak my oogies, my lightie, sy raak lekker vaak. And they understand it now because it's important that we sing our language to our lighties and we pass our stories to our own kids. Like we have power. Don't let them say you don't have power.
All right. So before we go, I'd like to thank the Open Book Festival for hosting this panel and these amazing people. I'm on the side cheering. Well, I'm amazing too. Yes, yes. um, but also, if you want to find out more about the Afrikaaps documentary and you haven't watched it, please buy copies I don't know what the price is, Emile. You'll find out. But if you want to buy her amazing poetry as well and his amazing music as well, please do speak to them. They do amazing work. I know that personally because I've known them for several years. We've recently published a book called Never Again, and it's over 500 pages long. There's an album to the book as well. They're all in it. But not you, but you have a picture in it. That was right. Okay. But the book is from DJ Ready D to Godessa to youngster CPT, if you can believe it. There's a picture. But I say all of that to say that they are amazing in what they do. So please give a last round of applause for them. And then in true hip hop spirit, give a round of applause to yourself for coming out. Thank you.